Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Homeschool Minnesota. Homeschool Minnesota is a podcast outreach of MÂCHÉ. My name is Dayle, and I'm so glad you guys are here with us today. I'm super excited because we are on our second to last, which is our fourth episode of our summer series on marriage. If you have not listened to the other three, stop what you're doing and try to go back and listen to those because they build on each other just a little bit. We review and go forward, and there's skills that you're going to learn that really help you with understanding where we are on this one. But today we are going to talk about something just everybody's so good at, so there's no reason to discuss it very long, I think, which is communication, which we all know is not true. We all struggle with communication, not only how we communicate, but how we receive communication. Both of those things are so important. So hopefully we'll get to discuss both of that, how you communicate and how you receive communication. So first of all, I just want to introduce my wonderful friend who is so great, and I just love her to bits and pieces, Mellany Zepelak. Hi, Mellany.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to have her do a recap, but first I want to remind everybody we are not counselors or therapists. We are far from that. We are just two homeschooling mamas who she's in the midst of homeschooling. I'm at the end of homeschooling. I mean, I've been done for a while now. And we are married women who walk through marriages every day of our lives and have for quite a while. And we're just really grateful for our spouses. And we hope that we are a blessing to them. I'm sure there are days we are not. But, today is not that day. We are a blessing today. Anyway, but we are not counselors or therapists. If you guys have a serious problem in your marriage, we encourage you. We implore you, to go out there, get the help that you need, find a pastor, find a Christian counselor who can speak truth into your marriage and really lead you guys to Jesus. The one thing that we have said over and over again is that Christian marriage is supposed to be, it's what God uses to talk to us, to understand his relationship to us and our relationship to him. So the one thing Satan wants to do, he hates it more than anything. He hates a Christian family. He hates it, and he wants to come after it, and he wants to destroy it. And how he does that is hitting the marriage, and he hits it when you least expect it. And so we need to do better. When we find out that our divorce rate is sometimes even in the church worse than the world, we need to do better. So here we are just talking through the things that we know and the mistakes that we have made, and hopefully you will learn from those. And then we bring the truth of Jesus into it, and we hope that helps you. So Mellany, go ahead. Can you give us a recap of the previous episodes?
Yeah. So based off of what you just said there, Dayle, the first episode is big picture vision of what your marriage is. Bottom line, it is an image of Christ and the church. And because of that, it holds enormous value that is beyond you and your spouse. And also then because of that, it is under enormous attack. And that is episode 2, which is all about how your fight is not against flesh and blood. There is a war against your marriage, and it is not coming from your spouse. It is coming from Satan and all the rulers and authorities and every ounce of him that wants to attack what represents Christ and the church. And then we have now started to move into practical tools. So we dove into the first main tool in episode 3, and that is you can only change yourself. You can only change yourself. And that is a tool because then it shifts your focus from your spouse to what you do have control of, which is yourself. And Dayle and I dove into breaking that down some in episode 3. So now we are going to move into communication.
Communication. We're talking about the indispensable habit of positive communication. Doesn't that sound just so like we know what we're talking about? Sounds so professional, like we absolutely get this. But that's a mouthful, Mellany. Tell us what that actually means so that we're not delusional.
It is such a mouthful, so I'm going to repeat it.
Yeah.
The indispensable habit of positive communication. And we're going to break all that down because it's really important. So first, I really like the word indispensable.
Yeah.
It means absolutely necessary and essential, but it also means incapable of being disregarded or neglected. This is super important with marital communication. It can't be disregarded nor neglected, or there will inevitably be a fallout. And no one wants that. Miscommunication is all too common, even among those couples who do practice positive communication. So that's why this is indispensable. Then there's the word habit. And here is my favorite definition of habit: an acquired behavior pattern regularly followed until it has become almost involuntary. And so this is my favorite because habit, it talks about an acquired behavior. It's not something that necessarily happens naturally. And it needs to be worked on until it becomes almost involuntary. And yet, even still, it's going to take some work. And that's the case with communication. Now, each one of us acquired communication patterns from our family of origin. So I'm going to repeat that because I don't think we really think through that ever. We each acquired communication patterns from our family of origin. So some of these patterns are going to be positive and some are not. And so the good news is that you can unlearn. Is that even a word? Unlearn?
I think so. Let's make it a word.
Let's make it a word. You can unlearn the negative communication patterns and you can learn positive communication so that you can acquire positive communication habits. So one of the verses that we shared in the last episode, I'm going to repeat, and that's from Proverbs 18:21. It says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." So I share that because what we speak to each other has enormous power, either for death or for life. And so while it will take work, like any habit, positive communication is available to you and to your spouse.
Yeah, I think that's really important to remember too, that it comes from our family. We get it from our family of origin, like our original, when we first get married, the way that we, or even start just have in a serious relationship with somebody, the way that we communicate is often very much like the family that we grew up in, the culture that we grew up in. If they were, let's process everything, let's talk through everything. And you're with somebody who's like, I'm an internal processor. It can be
Yeah.
very, it can be hard, to receive all that communication. It can be overwhelming. And if you're in a marriage in that situation, it can be very overwhelming. That's why when I talk about communication, one of the things that is really important to me is not only how you put out communication, but how you take in communication. I think we have to remember that it's both. And the
Yes.
thing that we have to remind ourselves is that we said this back, I think it was in episode 2. We might have started it in episode 1, is that our spouse is not our enemy.
Yeah.
We need to remind ourselves that even if they come at us with an attitude of frustration or even anger, that remembering that they're not our enemy helps us to receive it in a different spirit and be like, okay, Lord, then if they're not, they're mad, and they probably have every right to be mad, but maybe they're communicating in a way that is less than good. We need to remind ourselves who the enemy is, and it's not the person coming at us. And anyways, yeah. And I think that too, reminding ourselves that it takes practice. It's something you don't ever become just naturally amazing at communication.
No.
You really do have to work through it. And you have to learn your triggers, I guess, of knowing when I need to stop and take a break and then come back to this communication rather than diving right in, head first, which is, what we tend to do. And then fights break out, and that's always fun. But yeah, I think it's good to remember our family of origin. How did they communicate? And really take in like what was healthy about it, what was unhealthy about it, and then trust the Lord to help you kind of work through those things. I like that. So what is, starting with communication, the very foundation of it, what is the foundational practice of positive communication, Mellany?
So as I was working on this, I kept feeling like something's missing, something's missing. And then the Lord showed me it was this foundational piece. So, and that is pray together daily.
Yeah.
Pray together daily, repeatedly in our premarital counseling, as well as in numerous marriage conferences and seminars that my husband have gone to. This has been advised to us. Pray together daily.
Right.
Praying together keeps you connected to the Father and also to each other. And
Yeah.
it's a spiritual marriage practice that is foundational. And the reason why it's foundational is because there is an attachment that takes place between those who pray together.
Yeah.
And it is an attachment that cannot be gained by any other means. It just can't be. So my husband and I pray together almost daily, right before bed every night. Is that the ideal time? For us, it is. We get up at
Mhm.
different times and we have certain morning routines. And so, yes, we're tired and maybe we could be more intentional or focused with that time. And yet, whatever we have to give in praying together that night, and oftentimes there'll be specific things we're praying through for a certain period of time. It really connects us to one another in a way that we certainly don't. I mean, we miss days. And if we've missed a day or two or three in a row, we start to feel it. I start to feel a disconnect from my husband. And
Mm.
so if you have not started this practice, this might just be the place to start. And it can, if you've never done it before, you've not prayed with your spouse, and maybe it feels awkward or just strange for a while. But like any new habit, it might feel uncomfortable for a little bit until it becomes comfortable. But I promise you that the enemy will attack this time. But if you guard it and protect it, you will have a certain connection with your spouse that really is foundational for all the other communication things we'll talk about here.
I think I like the idea of praying together at night, oftentimes because as homeschooling families, mornings are crazy. You got so many things happening in the mornings, and people are going in many different directions, and your day is just beginning, and the kids are getting out of bed in whatever mood they're in, and all these things are happening. And, it's really good to wrap up your day coming together, processing what happened that day and talking through things, making it a habit of then saying, "Okay, let's pray over these things and let's pray for
Mhm.
tomorrow." Because you can pray and bless tomorrow before it even happens. You can pray that, maybe that child that was having a really bad day today, because their math wasn't working well, or had got into a fight with a friend, or those siblings that were battling each other all day, or whatever, that you can pray that, Lord, tomorrow we just ask you for these children, that this would be better, and just really come together for each other that way. I think also we have to remind ourselves not to neglect praying ourselves individually.
Yeah.
Um, Oftentimes as a busy mom, busy dad, we tend to kind of put our devotional life on the back burner a little bit. And sometimes it's hard to find that time. No condemnation. I'm there myself. And guys, I don't even have kids at home anymore. You would think I would have all the time in the world, and I do, but sometimes I'm not very great with managing it. And so it gets me into that, like, oh my gosh, it's been a couple of days since I've really spent time in prayer with the Lord. Like I pray, but like to really like make an intentional effort to connect with him. If you're not connecting with the Lord, you're gonna have a really hard time connecting with your spouse
Mhm.
and people around you. So if you're looking for connection, start with yourself, start with the Lord, and then coming together and making that an effort, making it a priority. And if it's uncomfortable, that says at volumes for where you guys need to go with
Yeah.
that. If you're uncomfortable praying out loud with your spouse, that should be the most natural thing in the world. And if you haven't done that and it feels awkward, that's okay. Push through it, make it happen, make it intentional, make it a priority in your marriage. Your kids need to see you doing it. I think it's really important. So, next, I was just sitting there thinking about that for a minute. What is the first positive communication tool that we can practice?
This is on repeat from our last episode, and it's because it's so important. And
Yes.
that is blessing each other. And if you have the foundation of praying together, it's going to be, and you're praying specifically yourself with the Lord, like you just said, Dale, it's going to be
Yeah.
a whole lot easier to bless your spouse.
Mhm.
So, blessing each other is the first tool for positive, we're focusing on here, communication. So, here's a few questions. Who blossoms under criticism?
No
Who
one.
blossoms under criticism?
Not a
No,
person.
no. Do you? I certainly don't.
No.
No. Who feels connected when they feel like they're failing?
Yeah, no one.
Once again, nobody. So if the sort of communication we're having with our spouses, "Ugh, you didn't do this, and well, what about this, and I can't believe this," that is actually not going to be motivating.
Are
It's
you always that?
right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And some of those things we're going to dive into in our
Yes.
next episode on conflict resolution. Um, but today, what I want you to focus on is answering this question. What has your spouse done well today? What have they done well today? There's something. There
Yeah.
is something. Have they been faithful in something? Maybe it's something they constantly do and it just becomes something you're so used to. But what if they didn't do that? What if they weren't faithful in that? What do you appreciate about your spouse? What can you thank your spouse for? So, for our family and for our homeschool, we focus on a character trait each month. And there's something called character first education. So if you're interested at all, they have specific character traits and definitions and statements and stuff on there. But one of them is gratefulness. And the definition for gratefulness is letting others know by my words and actions how they have benefited my life. Letting others know by my words and actions how they have benefited my life. Your spouse has benefited your life. There's no way your spouse has not benefited your, your life.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And so there has got to be something that you can tell them today. Like sometimes my husband is the one who faithfully goes to work every single day so that
Mhm.
I can stay home and I can home educate our kids. Sometimes I just say, we are living the dream.
Yeah.
We are living the dream because you are faithfully going to work every single day. I get to see our youngest start to read for the first time. And
Right.
I get to see this particular interest blossom in our son, or I get to see the creativity just bloom in our other daughter. These things are possible because you faithfully go to work for us every single day. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And that can be one of those things I often overlook. He's so faithful in doing it. So that's just one example in
Well,
terms of blessing.
yeah, and I think as homeschool moms and dads, parents, as homeschool parents, when we're the ones staying home educating, we think, well, they get to get away for the day and be around adult people. And they're thinking, well, you get to stay home all day and do your thing and nobody's telling you what to do and you get to be your own
Mhm.
boss. And so there is drawbacks and benefits to both, right?
Yes, there
And so
is.
we need to remind ourselves that nobody has it perfectly and there's challenges to both. And blessings to both. And so thinking
Mhm.
about that, good reminder about blessing each other and using our tongues as for life and positivity rather than for death. What's another good communication tool?
Another one is listening.
Ugh,
Now, I did not say hearing.
right.
Hearing and listening are two different things.
Mhm.
Listening is hearing in order to understand, to know that other person, not necessarily even to respond back. It
Yeah.
includes eye contact and asking questions and paying attention. And as I was writing about this one, another character trait came to mind that I've done with my children, and that is attentiveness. Listen to this definition. Showing the worth of a person by giving full concentration to his or her words.
Wow.
Showing the worth of a person by giving full concentration to his or her words. And then here are some of the I will statements of attentiveness. I will look at people when they speak to me.
Mm.
I will ask questions if I don't understand. I will not draw attention to myself. I will keep my eyes, ears, hands, feet, and mouth from distractions. And I think that attentiveness and listening really go hand in hand. Someone I think about in my life who does this really well is my dear daddy. He is very good at listening. And because he's so good, I find myself sharing with him more and more because
Mhm.
he's looking at me with his eyes, and his eyes communicate love and pleasure and being so happy that I'm sharing things with him. And he'll be smiling or nodding. And sometimes he's just silent for a long time, but it's clear from his body language that he's really listening to me. And then sometimes he'll ask me questions about what I'm sharing with him. So we can really show our spouse that they are such great value to us by truly listening to them. And when we do that, it is a sure way to communicate love. And don't we want to show that to our spouse? Like,
Exactly.
we want to be able to do that. And so I have not always done this well. There was a season in our marriage where I used to interrupt my husband very frequently. And I'm just going to say this as woman to whatever women are listening. Because now that I've worked through this by God's grace, I really notice it. And often, wives, we don't let our husbands finish. And we think that we know how to finish their sentence. So, my encouragement to you, and I'm going to do a deep dive in our next episode on conflict resolution about my own journey with stopping interrupting my husband. It's worth it. It's worth working on that to truly listen to your spouse and to recognize that they hold enormous value when they're talking to you. They're trusting you with something that matters to them.
Mhm.
And we want to listen well. And I'm still working on this. It's not like I've
Yeah.
arrived, but
Yeah.
I've come a long way.
Yeah. Well, I think we all learn and grow in this. And I always think about like, when you're first dating, and you're getting to know somebody, you're
Mm.
listening to everything that, it would never dawn on you in the middle of a conversation to pick up a phone and start looking through your phone or to be watching a movie or a TV screen while they're trying to talk to you.
Yes.
You're locked in. And that is what
Mhm.
drew them to you. Like you were a safe person for them. And that's
Yeah.
how you get to know them. The thing is that reminding ourselves that not only do you learn your communication skills from your culture that you grew up in, they did too. Your spouse did too.
Yeah.
And so you can, while you're listening isn't just hearing words, it's understanding where they come from, understanding their struggles, understanding their insecurities, and why it is that they're communicating the way they're communicating at that moment, and putting
Mm.
all of that together with what they're saying and body language and everything, and understanding listening is more than just hearing a word that's coming at you, hearing some sentences. It's taking into account everything else that you know about this person, everything else that you care about this person, and pulling it all together so you can rightfully understand what they're saying and allow the Lord to use all of that information for you to be able to respond in a way that is good. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody where you feel like they're while you're talking, they're just formulating their next argument with you?
Yes.
I hate that more than anything. I can
Mhm.
honestly say it's like, no, hear
Mhm.
me. Really listen to what I'm saying to you. Don't sit there and start formulating your next argument like while I'm talking to you. Nothing is worse to me than that. But that's what I think sometimes we give our spouses, that same feeling when we're not really locked in and we're so quick to respond rather than to wait and just really take in what they just told us or what they're
Mhm.
trying to say. When we do that, then when they are communicating, we can take even a constructive criticism or something that they're saying that they're struggling with that has to do with you, and we can make that be something that is actually positive. Like they want to make sure we have a healthy relationship.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so and I know from their family history that this and this and this was a real struggle, and I was actually doing that. And so because
Mhm.
they care about me and they care about our marriage and they care about our family, instead of taking it as, well, you're criticizing me or, whatever, instead we're taking it as a, no, this person is trying to come to me and say, this is important in our relationship. And I want you to listen to what I'm saying to you. And we can receive it in a way that is constructive, and a way that is a blessing. Like, this is a blessing. He wants to work through this with me. And
Mhm.
so, I just think that, listening is there's the lost art of listening in our culture today, in our society. It's like we're so quick to respond. We're so quick to have our own rights. Like, oh, well, this is, or my triggers or whatever it is that's making you respond the way you respond. We're so quick to pick up the phone. We're so quick to turn on, to be listening to whatever's happening over there, or whatever. And it's like, I think that I love the way that they say just that like zeroing in on that person and showing them the value by really giving them the attention that they deserve is so important. And I think it goes a long way to, like you said, our next episode on conflict resolution. That's
Mhm.
going to go a long way to resolving before it even becomes a conflict, if we respond with that spirit. Yeah. So we have blessing each other, listening to each other. What else is there? Is there one more thing that we can use to positively communicate with our spouse? One more
Yeah,
tool.
there are so many, but I really wanted to make sure that we talked about the big ones. And so blessing, listening, and then the next really big one is conflict resolution. So we're going to dedicate an entire episode to that. And so one more tool before we leave this episode is getting beyond just the facts with each other.
Mhm.
And this is really important to maintain connection in your marriage relationship. So, my husband and I went on a Weekend to Remember marriage conference, and they are excellent. I highly recommend them. But one of the entire sessions that they had was all about communication and the various levels of communication. So I'm going to give you a quick overview so that we can really, the purpose of this, as you listen to these levels, kind of think through and evaluate, where am I at with my spouse? Where are we at today? Because I know before you got married, you were all at a deep communication level
Yeah.
because that's what drew you to each other, just like what you were saying, Dayle.
Yeah.
But where are you today? So, the most basic communication level, grid level, is elevator talk. This is things you would talk about with anyone: the weather, the latest sports team win or loss, the festival in town. Hey, it requires no transparency. You would talk about this with a complete stranger.
Right.
That is the most basic level of communication. Then there is just the facts. Just the facts is sharing what you know. It's the business of the day. It requires a little transparency. And yet, I feel like as homeschooling parents, this is often a level where we can get stuck. Hey, will you bring Johnny to practice? Do you remember that Susie has her piano recital on Thursday? Is it okay if I meet Tracy for coffee Saturday morning?
Mhm.
And so there's just so much going on with the children or the day to day that tends to be our communication level, this just the facts communication back and forth. And yet, to build intimacy and connection with each other, we really need to consistently get beyond this level. So the next level is sharing what you think about something. It's your opinion. It requires a little more transparency than just the facts communication, yet not much. So we're going to move on. The next level is where you want to spend some time, right here and then beyond here. And
Mhm.
it is sharing how you feel about something. Your emotions. I feel sad today because I'm excited for whatever. I
Mhm.
I'm tender towards myself about taking that risk and trying a new routine today. Something along those lines where you're there, just the facts are going to be a part of it, but you're sharing something more vulnerable about yourself, having to do with whatever it is that you're communicating about. You're sharing how you feel about something. Um, this happened to me just this last week. I found that I was really sad because I'm approaching the anniversary tomorrow of my son who is stillborn. And I was triggered by something, and I found myself texting some girlfriends and asking for prayer about this sadness and where I was at that particular day. And I realized I hadn't told my husband that. I hadn't told my husband. And I'm like, wait, he's the first person I want to know this. And he's the one who walked through this whole situation with me anyway. And so then I ended up sending him a message and saying, just so you know, I've asked a couple people to be praying for me around this. And it's it's easy maybe sometimes when just the facts communication is so often there with your spouse to maybe be more vulnerable with a girlfriend or
Yes.
a guy friend than it is with our spouse. And
Yeah.
so I think it's really important to make sure if you're sharing stuff with some girlfriends that you maybe haven't yet shared with your spouse, think
Yeah.
about that and
Yeah.
consider that. And then go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I want to say something, but it'll be after your next thing. Yeah.
So the final level of communication, and this is the most vulnerable and also the most connecting, and that's sharing something about who you are. It's
Mhm.
complete transparency. This
Mhm.
may involve answering questions like, how is your soul doing? What are you struggling with? What is the Lord teaching you these days? This
Mhm.
is really about who I am today. And so I share this because each level of communication requires more risk and trust in the other person. So, can you see how couples who routinely communicate more transparently, how they're going to have greater trust and
Mhm.
connection with each other? There's going to be a depth and a knowing of one another and being known that exceeds all other relationships except your relationship with the Lord. And it's really a beautiful aim for all of us.
Yeah, I love that. I also want to say that it's interesting that you're talking about those being the level of communication because I was a part of an organization that did a teaching, and one of the things they taught about was levels of intimacy, and it was exactly the same
Ah,
thing. And so
wow.
communication and intimacy are, if you want to have deeper intimacy with your spouse, then you need to have deeper intimacy and deeper communication with your spouse.
Yes.
There should only be 1, 2, just your and the further you communicate deeper and deeper in those levels, the less and less people you are in that kind of communication with. Like, there are
Right.
just things that you don't share with everybody. You can be just the facts with a lot of people, but really understanding your hurts, your dreams, your passions, why you react the way
Mhm.
that you react with certain things, what triggers you and why that triggers you, that's just a few people in your life that understand that. And other people may understand that there was a situation that happened, but we aren't exactly sure the details. Your spouse should know the details. And one of the things that makes it really hard, I think, for a couple, like a married couple, to feel like they are on the same page is because one is sharing far more than the other one is.
Hmm.
And I think that that has a lot to do with just listening, not hearing, but listening. If you're feeling listened to, if your spouse is not sharing major parts of their life with you, ask them, are you do you feel like I actually listen to you? Because I'm concerned that
Hmm.
I'm not getting from you those depths of communication that we used to have with each other, and it worries me, and I wanna get back to that. So if I'm
Hmm.
not listening to if you don't feel like I'm listening to you or giving you the value, if you don't feel like you're valued enough for me to take the time to really put things aside and give you my attention, and that includes your kids, because remember, you were married you were married, and that has to be your primary relationship. You are one flesh with that person. That
Yes.
is the thing that God, the kids are gonna come and they're going to go I mean, they're always gonna be in your life, but you know what I mean? The person you will be with until the day you die is the person you are married to. God willing. Hopefully that's the goal in life, right?
Yeah.
And so in order for that to happen, that communication needs to happen. So if you find yourself where you're sharing a lot, but you don't feel like it's reciprocated, or if they're sharing a lot and you're not feeling like you can share a lot, that needs to get fixed.
Mhm.
There needs to be that, and that if you're not feeling that intimacy, that connection, that warmth, here's the thing, because if you aren't getting it with your spouse, or if they're not receiving that level of safety, that is where Satan can come in. That's a red flag, where
Yes.
he can come in
Yeah.
and he will insert a friend who will take that spot. And
Mhm.
that's where problems start to happen, because your friend should never be taking the spot of your spouse. Your spouse should know everything. And I love that you have that example of like sharing with your friends and
Yeah.
then realizing, oh, wait a minute, I didn't even tell my husband, who it's his child too. And he
Mhm.
walked through the whole thing from the beginning to the end with me, and he grieved and probably is grieving right now still in
Yeah.
this, in a different way. But at the same time, he's feeling that loss himself. We should be doing this together.
Yeah.
And so, and he might not feel comfortable saying anything because he's like, well, maybe she's just, I mean, it's just good to open up those communication lines, and even allow yourself to hurt a little bit to have that communication open,
Yeah.
so that God can come in and heal you as a couple. Like, you're one flesh. Remember, if you aren't walking together as one flesh, then your whole family struggles. Your relationship with your kids isn't going to be what it should be. Your relationship with your extended family and friends isn't going to be what it should be. That primary relationship of you and your spouse should be very well taken care of, and especially when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's wrap this up, Mellany. What last thoughts do you have?
Just two things. The first is communication, kind of like marriage itself. It's so big, it's so vast. There is much more. There are many more tools. Again, our entire seminars, books, months of conferences,
Podcasts.
podcasts that cover just communication. So it's important. It's super important because, as we just talked about, it builds intimacy and connection with your spouse. So it's worth putting in the time, work, and energy to work toward the indispensable habit of positive communication. The second thing I want to share is I am just tender toward everyone listening right now. And as I was praying before this podcast, just a few things that came to mind. One is, and I wrote this down, so I'm looking down at it right now for
That's
those who
okay.
are watching the video. I think I can say for both Dayle and I, we want to encourage you to stay the course, to
Yes.
continue the hard work, to prioritize your home and your marriage. And we hope that today and all these episodes will bolster you in your commitment with renewed purpose, vision, mission, and strategy. And so I just want to encourage you. I hope that you're not listening to this and you're like, I just failed here, here, here. Like, wherever you are, you are. And
Right.
half the time it takes just recognizing where you are to know where you want to go. And so there is grace wherever you're at. And my hope and my prayer is that you are encouraged to just take one step that the Holy Spirit is calling you to.
I wish I could find this verse. I'm not real great at and this verse and chapter says this. So I'm just going to say this. Remember that the word of God tells us that his mercies are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. I feel tender too. I just know that there are people who are listening who are like, but we have messed up for so many years and we have gone so far off the path of this. It's okay, because his mercies are new every single morning. And that means that his grace is there. His mercy is there. And even if you and your spouse are so far from the same page, one of you has to make the right step. One of you. You may not be met in that place right away, but taking that step of faith of, I'm going to do better. Because remember, you can't control the person you're married to. You can only control yourself.
Yes.
You do better. You take that step. You start to be vulnerable again. You start to share. You start to listen. You start to bless. You start to communicate. You trust that God is going to do. Pray for your spouse. You trust that God is going to do what he's going to do in your spouse's life, and then allow that to just start coming over and watch what he does, because great is his faithfulness. So as you are faithful, God is going to be infinitely more faithful, because that's who he is. And you guys, he's for you. He's for your marriage. He is 100% for you. He brought you together. He knitted you together as one flesh. He made you a family. He does not want you to fail. He is carrying you. Even if you guys feel so far apart, you're not in God's eyes. You are still one flesh.
Yes.
And you can make this happen. It's just going to take time. We get out of the habit, we get out of the work, but you can do this. How do I know? Because I have in my marriage, my husband hasn't with me. I know Mellany has, there's a lot of us who can honestly say we've been there, and it can come back. God can really make that difference of where it's like you're just sharing the facts, and you feel like you're just on, two different lives, but that's not it. And that's not how God, but Satan would like you to believe that it's just, you're beyond it. That condemnation comes on you, but that is not God. That is not the Holy Spirit. He will lead us in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And so you just do you do the right thing. You seek God, you trust him, you take those steps and allow him, watch him work, watch him run to meet you. And to meet you in your marriage right where you're at. And oh man, it's just really great. And yeah, anything else? That's it. All right. Whoo! I preached for a minute there. I don't usually preach.
That's good. Sometimes
Well,
we need to be preached to.
Yeah. I mean, God just is so good, you guys. He loves you. He really does. He loves your family. Your family is so like everything to him. So I believe in you guys. I believe in your marriages. I believe in your families. This is going to be good. I can't wait to hear what God is going to do in your guys' lives. All right. So we are going to come back next week with conflict resolution, which won't be as touchy-feely as this one. Let's be honest. Nobody likes to talk about this. So it's very nice. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for sticking through it. Again, we're so grateful that you guys come in and you tune in and you listen. We appreciate you. We pray for you. If this was helpful to you, share it, subscribe so you don't miss another episode, and we will see you back here next week. Thanks, Mellany.
Thank you.